That music means it's time for Rekha's Voice. Rekha Basu from the Des Moines Register joins us every week about this time, and we find out what you're talking about.
Well, it's sort of up to you today. I was just telling Jason off the set that I'm going to call his bluff today because he has a choice of two topics. One's on the air. He said, all we ever do is talk on your segment about sex because we were talking about LGBT rights. So now, Jason, you get a choice. This is a test of your priorities.
You've never complained before.
Since the Romans, there's never been a society more obsessed with their genitalia than ours.
Okay, so now we're going to test your priorities, your genitalic obsession versus your political obsession.
We got to get the topics on the table.
Look this way.
Look at this. It's like party school.
We have to look mad at each other.
Look at that. Okay.
So do we talk about sex?
Do we talk about the debate last night? Do we talk about politics or sex? Your call,
Or
Jason.
do we debate about
sex? Or do we talk about how sexy Bernie Sanders is?
His hair did stay. He must have really sprayed it well because it stayed down.
I don't know. Whatever you guys want to do.
He's deferring.
I mean, can we touch on both, or
we can touch on both? Absolutely.
Okay.
So the debate last night.
Give us your quick opinion on
some of the high points. Well, I thought that actually I thought that everyone did really well.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, no. Okay. I mean, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, I thought, did extremely well, and I thought Martin O'Malley did well too. I think that the other two, Jim Webb and Lincoln Chafee, were non-starters. I'm sorry to say. You know, Lincoln Chafee came across. Someone compared him to Mr. Rogers, and I think that that's
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Did you see
or Red Skelton?
Yeah. Did you see the first 10 minutes when they each had 2 minutes to tell everybody who they are?
Yeah.
That was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. And what did he keep? Well, I thought that was very interesting because it really sort of revealed something about themselves. He said both in his opening and his closing, he made this big thing about never having had any personal scandals.
Right, exactly.
Who was he aiming that at? I mean, was it Hillary Clinton?
Could have been every other
husband?
politician on the planet.
Bernie's never had any personal scandals. I don't know that O'Malley or Webb have, so that one was weird. Jim Webb, I thought, was just so snitty about not getting enough airtime.
He wasn't very personable.
He kept saying, you're ignoring me. And every time he was given the floor, he brought that up. Well, of course, I haven't had enough time, and everybody else gets more time. And he's using up all his time saying that.
Right.
And it makes you think, you know, if you are a president, something's going to happen under your watch that's going to make you flummoxed. How cool do you keep about it?
Wow, that's a good point.
His answers were so awkward. Like when they're like, who's your favorite enemy that you've created? His was the guy who threw the grenade that hurt my leg, and it was just like, where did that? Okay.
Really?
What got us in discussions last night, watching it for a while, we're saying, really, these guys are all up here talking, and we said to my wife and I said to each other, think about how much money is being wasted on campaigns that could be going elsewhere and doing some good.
Well, that's a good point. But I did think it was very fun. I thought Anderson Cooper came out a real winner because he was right on top of things, and he didn't let them wander, get off on tangents, boast about some other peripheral business. He was just right there, and he scrutinized them, and he was great. And I thought that Bernie Sanders, I think that he was true to his core, and I think that he probably delighted his supporters. He did not. I mean, I was not pleased with his responses on gun control issues because he does not have a good record about that. And he kept saying, well, I come from a rural state. So what? You stand up to those yahoos in your rural state if they're not for sensible reforms, right? On the other hand, I think he really did himself and Hillary Clinton a favor when he said,
the big statement.
We are so sick and tired of your damn emails, he said to her. I mean, everybody is, and I think people probably came away thinking, okay, he tells the truth. He's not going to let them attack her for false issues, and that's a false issue.
And the thing is, the one takeaway, if somebody's watching the whole debate, the one takeaway they probably had was that one statement.
Right, exactly, and the way that they shook hands over that, I thought it was a very civil debate, actually. And I think she was pretty flawless in her performance. She really showed herself to be knowledgeable. I love that one. It just showed her breadth of knowledge on various issues when she was asked about Carly Fiorina's complaints that if you were to give paid parental leave, if businesses were required to give paid parental leave, then it would drive up the cost of their operations, and then they'd have to lay people off. And she came right back and said, well, California has been doing it, and they haven't had to lay anyone off. Their economy is no worse for it. It's better. So she knew her stuff.
She was very well practiced, and as you could tell, has been in many debates before, just how comfortable she was speaking. Unlike a Chafee or a Webb.
Very comfortable in her own skin.
Has never been in Playboy.
Thankfully.
We don't know that. You know,
we haven't seen the emails. What about the
maybe under a fake name?
What about the person that sang the national anthem last night, Sheryl Crow? Did you see her performance?
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't actually see her.
Yeah.
Was she visible?
I
was very busy taking notes.
Yeah,
but
guys, I tried to
well.
make a segue here.
I know.
You did
He's
a
trying to get back to
fantastic
Playboy.
segue. She might now be posing for Playboy because it is no longer going to be nude starting.
That's true. She could.
So, I mean, I would say much ado about nothing. So they're doing away with nude pictures. Does that mean they won't be sexist anymore? Does that mean they won't be selling it with sexuality anymore? Does that mean they won't be objectifying women anymore? Of course not. They're just doing away with nude pictures. They're still going to have very sexually suggestive ones. They're still going to have women in rhinestone bustiers, you know, trying to, throw
They
men.
do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you not checked it out?
I haven't seen it lately.
So I think it's really interesting. I mean, the whole narrative about this on the talk shows has been that Playboy is changing and Playboy is losing its franchise because of internet competition. Anyone can click online and see.
That's what it sounds like when you click on Playboy online.
Punctuation. I like that.
But you heard part of the reasoning, and we were talking about this, is social media. They want to be active on social media in a bigger way, and they really can't if they have nude pictures.
They can't because it's I mean, so much that's on social media.
But I think it's another platform.
They're trying to increase their social media subscribers as opposed to their publications, because their publications have gone from millions to hundreds of thousands. So they have to find another way to keep this organization that's been around for 5 decades alive, and that this is their solution.
Well, you know, I think it's interesting. I mean, all print media is going through changes, as we know, because people have shifted to online so much, so they have to reinvent themselves. But as far as Playboy, I think one of the reasons it's losing circulation, it's down from what, 5.5 million to 800,000 at this point. It's been around for 6 decades. I think one of the reasons that nobody really touches upon that it's losing circulation is that people aren't so sexist anymore. I mean, they really don't. You know, I think both men and women have a much healthier approach to female sexuality than this nonsense of women being slaves for male attention to do, you know, whatever it takes. And if you read about Hugh Hefner himself, obviously the founder, the way he lives still at the age of what, 89?
So maybe he should be president of the United States.
He should be president. Oh my, he and Trump, they're made for each other. That would be a winning ticket, right? First and second place. No, you know, one of his former girlfriends wrote a book about her experiences living there, and it really sounded so exploitative and horrible. These women were kept isolated, but there were all of these girlfriends that were living together. I mean, it kind of makes me think of some countries where religious fundamentalists have, or even in the United States, there are some sects that do this, where there's this batch of wives, you know, who are kept under close wraps. There are curfews. They can't do this. They have to be, whatever they wear has to be approved. And in this case, you know, he gave money to these women for plastic surgery, nose jobs, boob jobs, you know, you mention it, facial, whatever. So they had to be just perfect. And I think it has, I mean, what it has done that's really been damaging to women is it has created these false notions of what it means to be attractive or what it means to be valuable as a woman. And it all comes down to your attractiveness to men, your sexuality, but only within certain confines, a kind of sexuality that's titillating to male fantasies, but not, you know, not as a wholesome thing that women would be expressing for their own enjoyment, perhaps. So,
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the rhinestone.
They still have great articles.
Okay.
I'm raising.
Oh yeah, are you
I'm
a
raising.
follower?
Is that why you read, because of the article?
That is in the register today.
That is in today's register.
There you go.
Playboy
Check
covers
that
up.
out.